go, go, go! Go! Go, 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 go!
It just broke through. It broke it. That was it. Wow, they got off just in time.
I can't believe this!
Holy, boat just went through here.
It broke!
I'm going to tell you the true story, the full story of exactly what happened on that day at the pier. Because I was on the pier, I shot the video myself with this camera, and myself and 5 other people, including my daughter, could have lost our lives on the pier on that particular day. So as you can see behind me, the pier has not even been fixed yet. It's probably going to take another half a year before it's repaired. But on that particular day, my daughter and I, were standing literally right here, and I was walking in this direction towards the pier, and I'm going to tell you the full story of exactly what went down. So I'm a landscape photographer, and I make videos and tutorials about photography. I teach people how to take awesome photos, and I post them to this YouTube channel. And that's relevant to this story because on this particular day, I was at home in front of the computer. There was a windstorm outside. I looked out the window and I saw waves crashing on the beach right here where I'm standing. And I thought, wow, what an awesome photography opportunity. I want to go down to the beach and get some photos of these big waves because this is a really rare event. So I asked my daughter Christina if she would come with me. She's 21. She was a flight attendant with Air Canada. She's now a nursing student. She has a very good head on her shoulders. And I'm bringing this up so that you're not thinking and jumping to conclusions that, oh, he's bringing his little toddler with him into the windstorm. No, that's not the case at all. Christina loves adventure. She loves skiing. She loves snowboarding. She's awesome. So we walked down right to where I'm standing, and there were waves that were crashing right over top of the rocks, over top of this fence that's behind me. And I was taking pictures of Christina. We were both getting soaking wet in this unbelievable windstorm. The wind was 60 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour. And there were lots of storm watchers that were down here on the promenade. And it was really a sight to see because it's just so rare that we get wind and waves like this in the city of White Rock. We started walking in the direction of the pier. Now let me just say that the pier is like the jewel in the crown of the city of White Rock. And whenever visitors come to this city, which is located in British Columbia, Canada, the first thing they have to do is walk out to the end of the pier and take their selfie photos. So I should also say that at the end of the pier, there's a big rock breakwater. It's like a big rock wall, and it protects the end of the pier from any really big waves. And there are also about 25 sailboats that are moored out at the end of the pier all the time. So when we got to the entrance to the pier, I could see clearly that there were lots and lots of people out on the pier. In fact, there had been hundreds of people who had walked out on the pier on that particular day. The pier has been a fixture of the city of White Rock for over 100 years. It has withstood storms bigger than this one that we're talking about, and the pier was unshaking. When I walked out onto it, it was secure. There was absolutely no indication of the danger and the risk that was waiting for us by the time we got out to the end. As we walked out onto the pier, I turned back in the direction of land and I shot a bunch of photos of the waves crashing. I shot some video. There were some pretty spectacular waves that look like they're completely covering the White Rock Museum. And by the time we got out to the very end, I noticed that right at the time we arrived at the end of the pier, a dock that had 12 sailboats tied to it broke loose and started being blown by the wind in the direction of land. I got the camera out, I braced it on the edge of the railing, and I started to shoot some high-definition video. My first thought was, oh, those poor boat owners, their sailboats, their precious boats, are about to be smashed to pieces by the waves on the shore. very suddenly the boat started moving closer to the pier. It was a very fast change in direction. Two masts on the sailboats snapped and broke and fell over, smashing down on the pier deck. In fact, they smashed so hard that they broke through the wooden railing on the other side of the pier deck. That was the first true indication of, uh-oh, there is some serious danger that has just occurred. These sailboat masts that were flailing up and down violently along with all these cables made me think that there was a higher risk of danger by crossing over the flailing sailboat masts as opposed to just staying where we were, because where we were was actually safe. There was no danger to the end of the pier. It was protected by that rock breakwater and it was unshaking and unmoving. I didn't feel that where we were standing was actually putting us in danger. The danger lay in crossing over those sailboat masts. But then things got even worse, and that's when the deck of the pier started pitching and buckling and being heaved upwards because the sailboats were being forced underneath the pier deck, and then as the waves came up, it was pushing the pier deck in the air, and then it would fall back down again, go back up and fall back down. This was posing a very dangerous situation.
I think it would be a mistake to try because we're going to get stuck in all those cables that are underneath the masts. And plus the whole frickin' thing is coming apart.
And my concern was that either the pier was going to collapse at that point if we tried to cross over, or since there were already two sailboat masts that had fallen down, well, what if a third or a fourth fell down right at the time when we were crossing over them? It could be instantly fatal. So there were 6 of us at that time. There was me, there was my daughter Christina, and there was this guy who was actually really awesome. You've seen Breaking Bad, right? This guy looks like Jesse from Breaking Bad. Like, it actually could have been Aaron Paul. So let's just call him Jesse. And then there was the couple. They were always holding hands. And then there was Oren. Oren is the one who eventually needed the rescue. So there were 6 of us. And together as a group, we were discussing in very loud voices because the wind was just howling in our ears. What are we going to do? Should we make a run for it or should we stay put? Ultimately, Jesse said, "Screw this, I'm going." And he made a run for it. And we watched him make a run for it. He dodged underneath the masts. He got through the tangle of sailboat mast cables. And when I saw that, and I saw the pitching of the pier deck, and sort of that realization, we're gonna be cut off, we're gonna be stuck out here, that was when I said, we gotta go. I looked to my left and I tried to time the waves so that the time when we'd be running past the sailboat masts would be a time when the waves weren't really making everything pitch and buck underneath us.
Okay, after this, it's the second one right there, after that one. Okay, here we go.
Thinking that everyone was with me, of course, I look back and the others hadn't started to run yet. So I yelled out Christina's name. That was of course, my primary concern. Christina, you got to be right with me, right beside me.
Come on, Christina!
She caught up to me and we ran together beside each other, went underneath the first mast. Then we went underneath the second mast. Once she was through that second mast, I looked back at the couple. I said, "Are you guys good?" Making sure that they had made it as well. And it was at that point that I realized that Oren had not come with us, but he was somewhere back at the end of the pier.
You guys good? Yeah. Okay, let's go.
As we approached 2 police officers that were waiting for us on the safe side, they were screaming at us, like hysterically screaming, "Get off the pier, get off the pier."
Go, 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 go! Go! Go, 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 go! Go! Get off the pier!
It was later on that I learned that those police officers could literally see that the pier was collapsing practically underneath our feet in the seconds after we crossed over the fallen masts. It was like a scene out of a movie. And I was able to get some video from David King, who was in his house that overlooks the pier, and he shot this video. And the video clearly shows that by the time we reached the police officers as a group, the pier had already collapsed.
Yeah, I think everybody's.
Oh,
Oh
it
my
just
God.
broke through. It broke it. That was it. Wow, they got off just in time.
I can't believe this.
Holy, boat just went through here.
It broke.
Yeah.
Seeing that was so frightening because I know that we were within 5 seconds of losing our lives. If we had fallen into that freezing cold water that was boiling and churning like a cauldron, it was crushing sailboat hulls. It would have been like being thrown into a clothes dryer where there are a bunch of shoes being tossed around. We likely would not have survived. When we reached the safety of the land, we could see that there was a massive response from emergency workers like police, fire, ambulance, search and rescue. It seemed like half of the population of White Rock was out watching this event and filming it. Everyone was filming it. Everybody was posting to social media these videos of this whole thing. But what made it worse now, and a real nail biter, was the fact that Oren was now stuck at the very end of the pier, completely by himself, and the pier had now been fully severed and he was cut off from land. So ultimately, the Royal Canadian Air Force was called, the big search and rescue helicopter showed up, and a rescue diver was lowered down in this 100-kilometer-an-hour wind, and that it was amazing to see that helicopter just rock solid. That pilot was awesome. And the rescue diver strapped Oren onto him. They were lifted up into the air and then dropped off on the land side of the pier, and it was over. So no one lost their lives, no one was hurt. It ended very well. Here's the question that I'm going to ask you. What would you have done? Now, let's say you were one of the many hundreds of people that walked out onto the pier that day, and you found yourself stuck at the end, cut off from land. Would you have stayed put, knowing that the pier was safe and secure where you were standing, but you were going to be completely cut off and separated from land and safety? Or would you have made the run for it to risk it all by going over top and underneath of the sailboat mast, through the cables, over top of the pitching and bucking pier deck? What would you have done? What's the right answer to do? So leave your comment below. I'm going to be very interested to read the results. So now you know the whole story, you know the rest of the story about what happened on the pier during the storm on that particular day. But the story doesn't actually end there. It continues because the Weather Channel from Atlanta, Georgia, traveled to White Rock, and they interviewed Oren, they interviewed his wife, they interviewed me, and I had the real pleasure of shaking the hand of Oren and meeting him for the very first time, which was a fantastic experience. And really the takeaway for me for this entire situation was A, what a learning experience, and B, life is precious, life is fragile, and life is fun, and it's to be protected. But the only downside is I never got to meet Jesse from Breaking Bad.